tasked with doing every week of talking about what's gone on in the world of pro wrestling this past week, and we've got to lead with the most preposterous. Remember, I admit, whenever I'm wrong, I admit it. Remember when I said, well, Vince is hiring Bruce Pritchard, he's hiring Eric Bischoff, he hired, Heyman for, the executive positions over the Raw show, SmackDown show, because he's not going to put Triple H in there because he can't fire a member of the family. Remember when I said that, Brian?
Yes.
Apparently, he can fire a member of the family. Shane McMahon has been asked to leave the premises. That request came from his father. It sounds like the beginning of the setup of the Odd Couple for 2022. Shane McMahon, who can we put him with? So they didn't fire Shane. It makes a sexier headline, saucier sounding situation. He wasn't fired. They just dropped the ideas that they had for him going forward because he made such an impression on everybody with his contributions to the Royal Rumble. That's more in line with what actually happened. They just say, this probably wasn't a good idea and we're not going to continue with it.
I think there was that, and also, don't ever come back. I think you have to remember that part. It can't just be, why don't you just go home? It's also, don't come back.
I don't think they said that because think about this. He's already, 52 or 53, as we mentioned the other day on the program. If the heat just lasts a couple more years, maybe they think he'll just forget about it. So the time might take. I don't know, though. Vince was wrestling Flair when he was 60. Before we go any further, you've got the official report on this situation from Uncle Dave on his website, or on the This Week's Observer. What did he have? He's got the moles and the stooges everywhere. What did he have to say about this?
This is the main story, I guess, of This Week's Observer, which came out this morning that I saw. Perhaps the biggest news story coming out of the Royal Rumble is that Shane McMahon is out of the company. Shane McMahon never had an official title with the company, as he didn't work behind the scenes, but he does have a talent contract. While people fantasize about his being the guy to take over from Vince, something he probably figured was his birthright, nothing has changed since 2009, when he left the company because that was not going to happen.
And by the way, nobody said that has changed. He's come back just to make some appearances. He was down there, I think it was 2017, he was at the Hall of Fame deal. That's the last time I saw him. But he's just made sporadic appearances. Nobody has claimed or floated the rumor that he was coming back to take over anything, right?
While he has appeared as talent on television, and even as an authority figure on SmackDown, his only role in the company since leaving was as talent. He was brought back as a secret entrant in the Royal Rumble, and also to produce the match, then go into the Elimination Chamber, and finally, wrestle Seth Rollins at WrestleMania. Shane McMahon had worked on previous Royal Rumble matches in the past, dating back to the Pat Patterson days. In 2020 and 2021, he was one of the producers for the Rumble, even though he doesn't work as a producer regularly, but has sometimes helped out backstage when he is at tapings. He was brought back this year as well, but there were many complaints about how he wanted to build a match around himself, and issues involving co-producer James Gibson, better known to wrestling fans as Jamie Noble. Any thoughts on this before I move on?
Yeah, obviously, I've always said Shane's my favorite McMahon. He's a nice guy, but I can also see where he can come off to some people as a dick, because he is a McMahon, and when he has ideas, he is sure of them and he's sure they're great. And that can lead to rubbing people the wrong way. I can see probably, not a defense of the action, but an explanation of it, that he probably doesn't take Jamie Noble seriously, because, to be honest, Shane has been, and it's part of the problem, he is what he has been portrayed as, the son of the billionaire owner, and he was around during the Attitude Era, and he was featured on television, and he, in his mind, is convinced, and there's some truth to this, that he's a bigger star than Jamie Noble. That doesn't mean he's a better wrestler or a better wrestling mind than Jamie Noble, but he thinks, and with some justification, he's a bigger star than Jamie Noble, so I can see him thinking, it's not like he's blowing off Stone Cold's idea or The Rock's idea. Those guys are still the guys that he views as the big stars in wrestling. Also, to say that he never was a producer, but Shane, since he got out of school and they gave him an office on the 4th floor down at the other corner, that's when he really thought he was going to take the company over, and he worships his dad and wanted to be his dad, wanted to be like his dad, and he would start getting involved in everything, because that's what he thought. And whether he thought this with justification or with encouragement from anybody in the family or anything he'd been told, or whether he just thought this, he thought that it was going to all be his job one day, and he would get into everything. And it was to the point where, if you were safe, if you heard his basketball dribbling, because Shane's got so much energy and always have, he would sit at his desk in the office on the phone with one hand dribbling a basketball next to his desk with the other hand. And everybody knew if you heard the ball dribbling, he was in his office doing something else, but if you heard the ball stop dribbling, he was walking down the hall to come into your office to interject himself into something else that was going on. And remember, they tried him on commentary. I was one of the first people that did color with him doing play-by-play. Remember, booyah! Because that was the shotgun noise, apparently. And he liked it on Shotgun Saturday Night, and then he did it all the time whenever he was doing commentary. That didn't last long. But then, Shane wasn't cut out for commentary anyway, but he was a personality because, like all the McMahons except Linda, he has an outsized personality. So then they put him on the show as the son of the evil Mr. McMahon and the Mean Street Posse and the whole 9 yards. But behind the scenes as well, he's always wanted to get involved with shit. And when he left in 2009, and he's done his own companies and done his own thing, and Shane is not hurting for money. Okay, let's dispel anything of that right there. But when he came back several years ago, I think it was an acknowledgement that he knew he wasn't going to run the thing. At that time, they still thought Stephanie or Triple H might, but he's still, it's his father's business, his grandfather's business, and his great-grandfather's business. And he's a personality in it. He's wanted to be involved. So he's done that, and he's had a talent contract because it's not like he's doing it for free. They pay him. And I can also see, I don't even know whether the idea would have been his or one of the writers. Hey, we need a name in Saudi Arabia, and they're fewer and farther between to come by. Shane. And then it could go to WrestleMania. Maybe they had the idea and he ran with it, or maybe it was his idea from scratch. Still, the point is, Shane has been used as a name and therefore would be viewed as a name.
Looking for the biggest laughs around? We got them. With the hit comedies Georgie and Mandy and Ghosts.
Lucky. Huzzah.
Georgie and Mandy's first marriage and Ghosts.
Shut up.
So I'm just saying, bringing all that in, that's a balanced look at everything that apparently became unbalanced at the Rumble. Continue with Uncle Dave.
Here's a quote that Dave attributed to someone close to the situation. Every single story you've heard, multiplied many times over. He was unprofessional, the likes of which left Vince no options but to fire him. That right there is so interesting, just because whatever you want to say about Shane, I've never heard unprofessional. I've never heard he was back there causing problems to the point where his dad was going to have to fire him.
No, well, and also you never know who's going to term what unprofessional these days. If, depending on who he's talking to and from what generation they're from, 100% of the current WWE writers and probably 75% of the wrestlers would term the average finish meeting in the old days unprofessional. So I don't know what, I've never known, as you said, Shane, to be like, well, God damn it, we got to do it this way, whatever the fire now.
Wait, we have a little bit more about this now.
Okay.
Others noted that he wanted to build the ending of the match around himself and be a featured player in the match. He was visibly very unhappy when his match ideas were shot down by his father and was not professional with Gibson and talked down to people. There were also disagreements regarding he and Lesnar regarding the closing stages of the match. And Lesnar pretty much does exactly what he wants. But this led to people being told one thing, then another, between Shane's ideas, what Lesnar wanted, and then what Vince wanted. It was constantly changing all day, and Vince was overruling Shane on his ideas and also agreeing with Lesnar. But the only thing left in regarding, that's what it says here, but the only thing left in regarding him looking good was a spot where he would outstrike babyface and former UFC fighter Riddle. It didn't help matters that he botched his elimination spot with Lesnar, as he was supposed to be clotheslined over the top rope, but didn't get over on the first attempt, so they had to do it again.
Remember, we remarked on all this, including the reason why was because Shane, his face was fire engine red by that point, because he was doing all of that bobbing and weaving and floating like a Led Zeppelin and stinging like a fucking feather. But that's where it all gets interesting, and that's where I can believe all of this also in terms of the way everybody took it, because he probably came in thinking, okay, I'm coming back to give him a name to go to WrestleMania in Saudi Arabia for a big program. He's been told he's a big star, and he was convinced of it, and we're looking at a lot of the rest of the field that they've got these days. He might be right in that, but still, this is what we've talked about. Shane is convinced that he's supposed to be Shane McMahon when he's in the ring and do the death-defying coast-to-coast drop kick or the wild elbow drop off the top rope to the announce desk and all this other craziness. The problem is, that is at the expense now, if it wasn't back in the old days when he was 35 or whatever, it's at the expense now of the rest of the show. Because now, even though, and I've said this also, Shane's in unbelievable condition. That motherfucker is strong as a bull. He's a McMahon. He's always worked out. And if the average jack-off working at the Jiffy Lube walking down the street doesn't need to fuck with Shane McMahon, he'll probably get his ass kicked. But whether or not you're the toughest, baddest man on the planet or not, doesn't matter in the wrestling business. It's whether you're portrayed to be or not. It helps if you are, but you need to be portrayed to be. And current day Shane McMahon is in his early 50s and is the son of a billionaire and was put in a position where he was going toe-to-toe, put himself in a position where he was going toe-to-toe with a UFC guy 25 years younger than him and in the ring with Brock fucking Lesnar, and I can only cringe at what interaction Brock might have vetoed. And he just does it. It's not, even if he is that tough, he's not supposed to be. So it doesn't matter. It's not good for the show. It was all about Shane. Remember the spot with Steen? Oh, with Kevin Owens, where he super kicked Shane twice and Shane never went down and then immediately dozy-doed him and threw him over the top like canned ham.
And Shane thought he should be a main eventer in the mix going into WrestleMania this whole time.
Yes, apparently. Like I said, maybe even I've heard much crazier shit pitched by one of the writers, but I'm sure he also took that and ran with it and had a bunch of ideas on things. And again, and I heard he was supposed to come out and go to WrestleMania with Seth Rollins. My God, that's an indictment of creative, if nothing else. If the fucking main event of WrestleMania for a guy as big a level of star as Seth Rollins in the company is to wrestle Shane McMahon. And how old was Tyler Black 10 years ago? He's almost 20 years younger than Shane. And again, yes, Randy Couture was, 50-something or whatever, but he wasn't a son of a billionaire or portrayed as such. It just doesn't make sense. So the point is, I think, I'm pretty sure that Vince finally just said, God damn it. I can hear, I've heard him say these words, God damn it, Shane. No. And Shane probably got ticked off because he thought what he was going to do was right. And they probably decided it will be more trouble in the locker room and more of this kind of trouble if we extend this through February and March, so let's just nip it in the bud and go in a different direction. So, and I'm sure Shane still has his talent contract. He just ain't going to be booked. He didn't get fired. Did you see the people already putting up the memes and or there are sites reporting that people in the WWE are nervous that Tony Khan may sign Shane McMahon to All Elite Wrestling?
I have not seen that. That cannot be.
Yes.
Come on.
There was something on, somebody on Twitter this morning had linked to a story somewhere that sources in WWE were trying to preemptively, get out that, Shane wasn't fired or whatever so that he wouldn't be signed by, I'm not saying it was coming from Vince, and I'm not saying it was coming from anybody in the WWE to begin with, because I haven't got documentation on that, but that's what people are trying to write and foist off on the public. Just because Vince didn't agree with Shane's vision for the Royal Rumble doesn't mean that if all the other things that's happened in their lives, when Shane actually did leave the company one time before he went to do his own thing, they still got together at Christmas. There's no way on earth, unless Vince somehow, breaks into Shane's house and kidnaps some of the children and holds them against their will, that Shane McMahon would work for an opposition promotion to his own father. That's just and he don't need the money. Nobody in that family needs the money.
Shane was the only one to ever break out and try to do something on his own. When he realized that he wasn't going to be handed to WWE, that Stephanie was in his way, he went out and tried to do his own thing in China. It didn't work out, but he tried. And it was several years, and he went out and tried to strike out on his own to show his dad what he could do. Do you think Shane's the member of the family that would come out and do an interview and reveal what's really going on with his dad's mental condition?
No. The last thing that Shane McMahon wants to do is make his father look bad publicly. Regardless of anything else that goes on, that would be the last thing that Shane would want to do. Unless he has just had a massive personality shift from the last few years ago when I last saw him.
That company right now is letting stuff get out that really makes Shane look awful right now, and he knows that.
Oh, yeah, but it doesn't mean he wants to do the same thing. It doesn't mean his dad is the one that's letting it out. Everybody that didn't want to see him there to begin with is more than happy to let it out, I'm sure. But it's not Vince. That's why everybody has said that Vince had no choice but to, and has quietly mentioned that Shane's not going to be a part of anything anymore. He don't want to make his son look bad either.
I have seen several people point this out, and I started thinking about it and laughing. Can you imagine Shane that morning? The sit Everyone said it was going to be Stephanie and Paul. Look at where they are now. Here I am. I'm going to go help book the Royal Rumble, and then I'm going to do a main event program, and I see who's around my dad. He needs some help. He sees that I'm here, and then it all went haywire by the end of the night.
Well, you know what? Here's the thing. What I'm thinking is that Nick Khan was running around out there, and the WrestleMania sign burning and melting on the customers, causing chaos, probably got him in a bad mood, and then he figured out a way, well, I can't let Vince know that under my watch the WrestleMania sign caught on fire, so I'll bury Shane. Hey, Vince, Shane's trying to make the Rumble all by himself now that he was off of Nick Khan.
You know, we did see reports that Shane arrived at the building that day with Nick Khan.
See there? It was all part of a plot. Nick Khan's the one that wound him up. Hey, Shane, I tell you, see, we ain't got any stars anymore. Back in your day, you were the big stars. You didn't come in here and take charge of this shit. All part of my plan, Smithers. But, you know, here's the thing. If it does cause a rift in the McMahon family, and if Shane is being persnickety and is not going to go to Christmas, or if maybe Vince is pissed off because Shane's let him down and he's not going to get Shane anything for his birthday this year, maybe the only way to get the McMahon family all together again is going to be with the folks at Paint Your Life. What do you think?
I think that is a brilliant idea. That's probably the only way we can get Linda in a group photo with everyone else, too.
That's right. Linda all the way down there in Florida. She doesn't know shit from apple butter about what the rest of the family is doing. But if you were to take a picture of Linda McMahon, one of Vince, one of Shane, and one of Stephanie, and possibly even Triple H, all in their various corners, and send it to Paint Your Life, they could paint a McMahon family portrait for the ages, a team of world-class artists working on a professional hand-painted portrait. And that's the same thing that they can do for the McMahon family, folks. They can do for your family, too. The folks at Paint Your Life can take pictures and make any combination of same a professional world-class portrait. I'm telling you what, we've been talking about Paint Your Life for so long now, Brian. Your entire walls are covered with portraits of you with various people throughout history. Mahatma Gandhi, FDR, W.C. Fields, all of them. The way that you've decorated your walls, that's what the folks at home, their homes can look like. Pictures of them with celebrities throughout history or just family members. Generations that didn't coexist at the same time. A favorite pet, a place you used to vacation, whatever memory that you've got that you want to turn into art, the folks at PaintYourLife.com can do it. You can choose from the team of world-class artists, work with them on the details, and then your custom-made, hand-painted portrait you can receive in as little as 2 weeks from any picture or combination of pictures. And, folks, right now, if you text DRIVE, D-R-I-V-E, to 64,000, you'll get 20% off and free shipping. And at PaintYourLife.com, there's no risk. If you don't love the final painting, folks, your money is refunded. If you don't love the final painting, you shouldn't have had ugly relatives. That's not Paint Your Life's fault, but they'll still refund your money, guaranteed. So, 20% off and free shipping. Text the word DRIVE, D-R-I-V-E, to 64,000. Paint Your Life. Celebrate the moments that matter most. Message and data rates may apply. Terms apply. Available at PaintYourLife.com/terms.
Maybe Shane can get one of him in the Elimination Chamber, or him at WrestleMania with Seth.
Unfortunately, he's been eliminated from the Elimination Chamber.
Feels like a dream.